Hello and welcome to Miniature Adventures. I'm Big Lee, and this week I want to ask, are you a button counter? So today I want to discuss a question that came up a couple of weeks ago following my video on unpainted miniatures. Philip Redmond asked, what if historical uniforms in an army are not correct? Is that okay? Now this is one of those questions that is a potential can of worms and likely to divide opinions, so I'm going to do my best to sit on the fence, discuss both sides of this topic and probably annoy everyone in the process. So of course miniature wargaming is more than just a hobby. It's a way for enthusiasts like me to engage with military history in a hands-on and immersive manner. Now whether recreating Napoleonic battlefields or simulating the strategic manoeuvres of World War II, historical wargamers take pride in the details that bring history to life. At least the ones that I play with do. Now however, there's a long-standing debate which can definitely divide opinion. How strictly should one adhere to historical accuracy when painting miniatures? Now some wargamers insist that every uniform, weapon and piece of equipment must be represented with absolute fidelity. A perspective sometimes derisively called button counting. Others adopt a more pragmatic, more relaxed approach, arguing that the game's spirit is more important than rigid adherence to historical details. Now I've spent the last couple of weeks talking to as many gamers as I can, young and old, and asking them this very question. I'll keep their names out of the video, but as far as it's fair to say that both viewpoints were represented in these conversations and both have their merits. Understanding these viewpoints may help slightly to define what makes historical wargaming meaningful to different players. But as always, I will come back and ask your opinion on this conversation at the end. Now, so for those who advocate for strict historical accuracy, the word that comes up time and time again is authenticity and accuracy. To them, recreating battles with painstaking detail is a way of respecting history and the people who've lived through it. A war game that faithfully represents a historical conflict provides a unique educational experience, and it's one that I fully embrace. It offers insights into military strategy, unit composition and battlefield conditions, reinforcing knowledge in a way that reading a textbook sometimes can't. And beyond the education, it's argued that strict adherence enhances immersion in the game. Knowing that every miniature is painted and equipped exactly as it would have been in its historical period deepens that sense of being transported to another time. There's also a strong personal satisfaction in research and craftsmanship. Wargamers who dedicate time to studying primary sources, consulting expert analysis and applying this knowledge to their miniatures feel a deep sense of accomplishment. Their work not only preserves history but ensures that inaccuracies and, more importantly, misconceptions do not take root. But while historical accuracy offers many rewards, it also presents significant challenges. The level of research required can be daunting, especially for newcomers who might feel overwhelmed by the expectation to get every detail absolutely right. This strict adherence can also slow progress, as the need for precision in painting and equipping miniatures means that armies take longer to complete. Another practical issue is availability. Not every conflict is well represented in the miniature market, and finding perfectly accurate models can be a real struggle, forcing players into difficult compromises. Moreover, an insistence on perfection, it could be argued, can sometimes lead to elitism within the community, where those who do not meet certain standards feel unwelcome or criticised. Now at the other end of the spectrum, many wargamers believe that strict historical accuracy should not come at the cost of enjoyment. A more relaxed approach allows players to focus on the broader experience rather than worrying about minor discrepancies. This flexibility certainly makes the hobby more accessible, particularly for newcomers who may not yet have had the time or to acquire the knowledge or to commit to rigorous research. And it also fosters creativity, giving hobbyists room to explore alternative scenarios or hypothetical engagements while still staying within the spirit of the historical wargaming that they're playing. A more forgiving attitude means that players can assemble and paint their armies more quickly, leading to more time spent actually playing, engaging with other players, rather than obsessing over every single detail. There's also a pragmatic side to this approach. Given that some historical units are difficult to find in miniature form, slight deviations from historical accuracy allow players to field armies that might otherwise be impossible to collect. Above all, a relaxed perspective prioritises fun. For many wargamers, wargaming is ultimately a game, and a game should be enjoyable rather than bogged down by debates over minor historical inaccuracies in painted uniforms. However, and again to sit on the fence, there are valid concerns about taking too casual an approach. If historical wargaming strays too far from documented history, it risks losing its educational value. An army that is only loosely based on historical reality might undermine the immersive aspect that makes historical wargaming unique. It could be argued that if it's not accurate, you might as well play fantasy. Misinformation is another potential issue. While minor inaccuracies might seem harmless, they can contribute to a distorted understanding of history over time. It'd be like putting horns on Vikings' helmets. Players who prefer strict accuracy may also find themselves frustrated when encountering opponents whose armies are anachronistic or inconsistent with the period being played. All that being said, based on the conversations I've had, and this is far from a scientific poll, just a random conversations, over the last week, I think most wargamers appear to fall somewhere in between these two extremes. A balanced approach recognises that while historical accuracy is valuable, it should not become a barrier to participation or enjoyment. Many clubs and events accommodate both perspectives, allowing for a spectrum of engagement with history. Newcomers might start with a general commitment to accuracy, ensuring the uniforms, weapons and equipment are broadly correct, while refining their knowledge and details over time. Meanwhile, veteran players might uphold higher standards for their own armies, but remain open-minded about the choices of others. I do believe that at its core, historical wargaming is about passion for history, for strategy, for the art of miniatures, and engaging with other players. Whether one leans towards meticulous historical fidelity or makes a more relaxed approach, what matters most, for me at least, is fostering an inclusive and enjoyable community so that we're all enjoying this wonderful hobby. So, having attempted to look at both sides, it's probably time I talked about my approach. I guess, as in a lot of things, my philosophy is pragmatic. I try to use the ranges that are available, sometimes resorting to conversions to make figures from one period suitable for another. I definitely wouldn't use figures that are blatantly inappropriate for a particular period if they couldn't be converted. So for example, I used Franco-Prussian War Turcos for my turn of the century French colonial collection, because at the time that was as close as I could find in the scale that I was using. Minor conversion work to adjust backpacks combined with some period appropriate colours, and voila, I was able to field Algerian troops for my colonial forces. But to respond more directly to the initial question, I do try to accurately portray uniform, even going so far as repainting or touching up paint jobs if I've made a serious mistake. I don't consider myself a button counter, however I do try to be as accurate as I can be given the source materials that I have access to. That being said, I also try to avoid painting specific unit markings so that models that I'm painting can be used to represent different units. This is partly because I don't have the accuracy and the skill to paint things like regimental numbers or unit badges on tiny little figures that I'm working on. I'm very much of the opinion that if you can't do that really well, it's better left off the model entirely. The advantage, of course, is that that model can then be used to represent troops from different units that would otherwise have been wearing essentially the same kit. Now I would, however, adhere to things like uniform facings and flags, of course, where possible, and of course I am painting towards, if I'm painting towards a specific battle, I will try to be as accurate as I can in representing the units that took part. So hopefully you can see that I am trying to be as accurate as I can be, but I also take a pragmatic approach, partly both from the need for utility with my models, but also recognising my own skill limitations. But as usual, I want to throw the question out to you. What is your approach to historical accuracy when painting figures? Are you a button counter and proud, or are you more pragmatic or even completely relaxed in your approach? How do you feel about fielding miniatures in anything other than 100% historical accurate uniforms and equipment? As always, I would love to hear what you think in the comments below. So a hobby update, and as you can probably tell, I'm a little bit more organised this week compared to last week's video. I've had a bit more time to prepare and think about another topic this week, and I've also found time to plan out the next stages of my half of the Retreat from Moscow project with Ray. Now last week I published a video showing our combined collection in the Shed of War, but as we've also had time for a long chat afterwards, over a cup of tea and a cake of course, where we talked about what we were going to do next. So last week several orders went out for my next units and some terrain items that we're going to be painting for the project going forwards. Now much of that has now arrived. I'm still waiting for a couple of parcels, and the next units are already on my painting table, as you can see here. So next up, of course, I will be at Salute next week, trying my best to get around to see everything and take pictures and film of as much as possible. Now I have early access, which is given my need to sit down every hour or so is absolutely essential, to protect my aching knees. If I'm going to get around the show before the end without collapsing, I do need to sit down occasionally. I'm also hoping to attend at least one of the panels, but I haven't quite decided which one yet. I need to have a look at their website and just sort of look at the panels to decide which ones I'm going to go to. Of course, if you see me at the show, please come and say hello. I really do enjoy chatting with viewers of the channel and getting your feedback. And of course, if you've got any encouragement or criticism, I'd love to hear from you. So a very quick workbench update. I haven't really done much painting since the challenge ended in the middle of March. I did do a little bit of terrain, but mostly I've been spending time having a tidy up, reorganising some of my storage space and thinking about tasks to come. My lovely wife has bought me a load of Cossacks for my birthday, and I'm looking forward to getting started on those in the next few weeks' time. I may yet come back from Salute laden down with more stuff to paint, but I don't have a shopping list at the moment. Now one thing I have been working on this week is more opportuni, although these aren't complete yet. I've also been making a model from scratch, potentially saving myself nearly 40 quid in the process. So Ray sent me a link to a model from a German company, a Cossack sled gun for this period, for the the Napoleonic period, the 1812 war. It wasn't cheap to start with, but with shipping it added up quickly, reaching the point of way too expensive. However, I really want one. So I've used a couple of old Free Panda guns and their carriages to make a pretty good, I think, facsimile. I found a line drawing of an example gun and used that as my template when using parts of the carriage from both the guns, that I was able to make what I think is a sled which looks pretty close to the drawing with one of the guns mounted on it. And I'm confident that I have a very close approximation of what these hand-pushed weapons would have looked like. Now I need to find some Cossacks to convert into crew. So that's it for this week. Please join the conversation in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe and share. And if you want to keep up to date with weekly content from the channel, please tap the bell notification icon. So until next week, stay safe, keep going, and of course, keep rolling high.